Hello Nigeria, hello Africa. You're watching Plus TV Africa and the program is Sports Business with Orufuo Ezaga. Today we're going to be talking about another exciting topic. We're going to be discussing inclusivity in sports, specifically women in sports in Nigeria. Globally, women are beginning to play a bigger role in sports. But what's the situation like in Nigeria? What's the trend like in Nigeria? We also recently when Zimbabwean Kirsty Coventry was elected as the IOC president. It's the first time a woman has had that job and the first time an African has had the job. All right, so women are beginning to play a bigger role in sports. So what's the problem? Is there a problem? What's the trend in Nigeria like? Are women playing a bigger role locally? Is there something that needs to be done to catalyze the process or something to ensure that a young girl growing up in Nigeria today can see a future in sports? And also for parents who are tending to young children, they should begin to see that the sports industry can have some quite encouraging opportunities for their young girls. All right? Joining me to talk about what's going on, what role women are playing in sports today are two very experienced players in the industry. The two relatively young ladies who participate as career women in the sports industry in Nigeria. First is Chief Suo Chapele. She's a sports commentator and an analyst. And joining her will be Mrs. Latifat Adebayo-Ohio. All right, these are two people who play actively in the industry, and they should be able to tell us what their experiences are like. How did they get into sports in the first place? It's quite an unusual profession for men, not to talk about women. So how did they get into sports? How did they choose sports as their careers? And what has the experience been like working in Nigeria? All right. As is the nature of this program, we're going to take a very short break. And when we return, the business begins. Don't go away. You're welcome back to the program Sports Business with Orufuo Ezaga. And of course, you're watching Plus TV Africa. We're reaching you live from our studios in Victoria Island, Lagos. Today, we're talking about women in sports, inclusivity in sports, specifically to women in sports, and as it concerns the industry in Nigeria. Joining us via the phone from Lagos is Mrs. Latifat Adebayo-Ohio. She's a photographer, a very experienced and renowned sports photographer, and she's the media officer for the International Tennis Federation in Africa. All right. Hello, Fatil. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on the show. Okay, it's not International Tennis Federation. It's for International Table Tennis Federation in Africa. So I know that you're really deep into tennis.
I beg your pardon. It's a mistake that table tennis people don't take too kindly to. All right, so International Table Tennis Federation Africa. All right, you're welcome to the program. First, Fatil, look, we're going to be talking about women in sports, right? And internationally, it's an area that's dominated by men. I don't know if you agree, for instance, that women are beginning to play a bigger role in the industry. How did you get into sports in Nigeria? What's your experience been like?
Well, first of all, thanks for this opportunity. I'm always up for speaking about career path in sports because, there's so much opportunities in sports that I can say that people are not taking advantage of. Actually, when I got into sports, I just wanted to do media. Just be a sport journalist. At first, I started as an athlete anyway, but I quickly admitted to myself that it was far from me. And then I pivoted into journalism. And I will say when I started out, it's like, it's like learning a trade. I didn't go to a formal setting. Maybe when I was in the university, maybe I studied media or communications, anything remotely media. No, I didn't do that. The only thing that I did was when I finished school, went to Nigerian media school in Ikeja, and that was all I got. Whatever knowledge that I got about media was through me interning, learning, understudying, experiencing firsthand sports event activities, analysis, presentation, everything from the studio work to the research to the experience as a reporter on site, and then I started as a studio rat. I presented sports on radio. I analyzed. I was a researcher for presenters on the show. All those things, and then from there I started going on site, going to events, reporting live from the event. I can remember my first ever on-site work was the ECO 2012. I would go from my house down in Alagbado to Surulere every blessed day during the ECO festival. And coincidentally, that was when I discovered table tennis. The only table tennis I knew were just boys playing in the neighborhood or while I was in secondary school just to pass time, right? But not like a professional setting. So that was where I discovered table tennis, but I never acted on it. I just wanted to be in the moment of the Eco Festival report to the studio, and that was what I did. And after tasting the Eco Festival, I felt like, okay, this is something I actually enjoyed than being in the studio, and I took it up from there. I was doing more on-site work than even being in the studio, and that was how it continued. And that at that time I was just a young girl in the industry, and I have to say that I have to thank a lot of people who also saw me as a potential and gave me opportunities because
I'll
succeed really.
Yeah, Fasil, I was going to actually go there. As a woman in the industry, based on your experience starting, did you get a lot of support, or was it a case of the boys' club trying to squeeze you out?
Oh, at all. I mean, I got a lot of opportunities from people. I got so many people in my corner who probably saw that, okay, I had the passion for the job, and they keep pushing stuff to me. Like, I was still rounding up school. I can remember then when I got the internship opportunity at Top Radio. And it was because then I started out like calling radio stations, and I think maybe one of the OEPs and the owner of the radio station took notice of this, that okay, I'm always calling sports shows and my analyses are actually on point. And then I was also like other sports. That's the thing. I have a bias for other sports other than just football, right? You could call me up. I could speak about football. I could speak about tennis. Tennis has always been my my love language in the industry. So I always talk about this whenever I call. So I think when I now reached out, because there was an opportunity for interning at the station. So when I applied, I mean, it was no brainer. They took me right away. And this was a man.
Yeah.
He owns the radio station, and the presenter on the same show is also a guy. He was also rounding off school as well. So we're all just so young, like we're in our early 20s, on the show, sounding like babies, but we knew what we were passionate about the sport. So that was my opportunity. And then radio, I'm allowed to say that after getting there, I was able to work under Wale Adigun, who is also as young as I was. And then later on, I was able to work with Godwin Akina, Biola Kazim, And then I left Top Radio to other radio stations across Lagos, where I heard that there were opportunity for internship. That was the thing. There wasn't like a lot of opportunities that opens up at that time for you to come in to do sports. Some radio stations hardly ever had a sport desk. They just have like maybe a guy or two come in to do their sports shows, and that is it. Some of them, they hardly pay them, and some, maybe they just give them stipend. So imagine that there was no opportunity.
Yeah.
So I just felt like, okay, the way to get a foot at the door was just to intern. And I did that. I did that across like maybe 3 or 4 radio stations and TV station as well.
Okay, wait. Let's talk about that internship. When you said you interned, is it saying that you worked without being paid? Or
sure.
Okay.
Sure. I wasn't paid a dime. I wasn't paid a dime. I think this lasted more than 2 years, in fact. The only monies that I may have gotten was maybe one of my bosses just, you did well on air today. You deserve some pocket money for transportation or for lunch. That was it. There wasn't like a particular pay. It wasn't until my 4th year, I think, that I was able to get a job that was paying me. And it wasn't like payment. It was like, per diem or stipend in that region.
Okay. So after the rough starts, I need to speed this up because I know you might be leaving, you might not be doing the full program. So after the rough start, what would you say, a career in sports has been like for you? Would you say it's been rewarding? Is this something you'd advise your young daughter to consider if she was so inclined?
Oh, sure. Even when I wasn't getting paid, it was rewarding for me because it was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't just something that I was like, it wasn't like a whim. It wasn't like, okay, there's nothing to do, let me try this. No, it was like, I've always loved sport, and since I couldn't achieve being an athlete, media was the only other thing. And when I mentioned that to my parents, they were the ones even pushing me because they felt like, okay, it's something you can do. And everybody around me sees me that way. So during that time that I wasn't getting paid, I was happy doing it. It was fulfilling for me because I was living my dream. Although, maybe because I was young, I was vibrant, and I had parents who was sponsoring the financial part of me being on air because it wasn't cheap. Coming from Alagbado to Ikeja to K2 to VI, I mean, every week, it wasn't cheap at all. So it was fulfilling. And looking back now, it's been over a decade, I think. Yeah, it's been. I started in 2012. Imagine, it's been over a decade, and I can see how the path has actually opened up through the years. Yes, it can really get better. It's slow for other people who might be listening and thinking that they want to get into careers in sports. I mean, the opportunities are boundless because you shouldn't do it like me, right? People shouldn't do it like me. It's not just through media. There are so many opportunities out there. There are opportunities such as management, there is PR, there is legal, there is tech, which people are not really looking into. There is also gaming. There are so many opportunities in sports that people can actually leverage on. In management, there are so many things right now because you cannot just see an event start or happen without management, a management team. I was at the AFCON, and the match commissioner at each match fixture did not only work alone. He or she had like 3 or 4 other people, and then they have like protocols match protocol officers all around the stadium. That is an opportunity, and all of them, each match, you see them all suited up, doing an amazing job. They're like 10 or even more than that per match. That is an opportunity right there. There's also coaching that people are not looking at. There's health. People need psychologists, therapists, all these opportunities, legal. Just a couple of weeks back, the new sports commission, they inaugurated an esports committee. And the CEO of this committee is a lady, Damilola Pedro. Okay. Damilola has been in the system for a couple of years, worked with Miola Sports, who are the ones who organize marathons across Nigeria. And she has paid her dues, and then she pivoted into gaming. Gaming is something many people are not looking at right now, and it's going to be big because there is a World Cup in gaming coming up very soon, and it's even started, and it's a lot of money. People can get paid, people can have careers in that. It's just remarkable. I do content creation in sports, and whenever I think about the Olympics, Olympics is like the peak, it's like the apex for me, like for somewhere to work as a content creator that has bias for all those sports, right? And the person that is the content director at the Olympics is a lady, an African for that matter. And she has been there for maybe 2 circles of Olympics now, and she's doing a great job. There's so many of them, even here in Nigeria. There's so many of them upcoming. My company did content for Lagos Liga just last December. And the league commissioner was a lady, Sandra Abeni, and she did a remarkable job. These people just didn't wake up one day and start doing it. When she talked about how our journey has been, she's one of those children that just goes to the stadium to enjoy sport, play or watch, and then she got into the industry by interning, by understudying. Whenever there is an event, she gets into management or protocol, all those opportunities that are there in sports. And then now she's league commissioner for Lagos Liga, one of the biggest private leagues in Nigeria, if not the biggest, in fact.
Okay.
And she's more than that. So I think there's so much. I can continue to talk about this, but I'm always open to talk about it. If anybody wants to, get deeper into this, I'm always online.
Incidentally, she was on the program, and that's Sandra. She was on the program a few weeks ago, and she said she had a very great experience, and the way she got the job was even more, in my view, fascinating, because she just applied for it online, and she got picked for the role. All right. So, but the point is, for women, I think that given what has happened in recent times, women in business, women in politics, in government, and all of that. What their experiences have been something that people have been generally talking about in recent times. In the sports industry, is it an advantage, would you say, to be a woman? Or is it an advantage to be a man? Or is it just a question of how good you are at what you do?
I think it's a bit of both, and I will cite an example. In ITTF, where I work, we currently have a female president. She's the first one ever to be a president in a federation, an international federation.
Yeah.
And she's doing amazing. She's even running for a second term. She didn't just appear. She's like we have in most federations the ratio of male to female leadership positions is like, the margin is so high, probably like 90 to 10%. That is those who are at the table that actually move the needle. And then she has done it. She has been in leadership. She was a former player. She did well being the captain of her team in her country. Then she got into the the regional leadership role. She did well, and she climbed through the ranks such that she was already piling up all those experiences. By the time she got into ITTF, she became the vice president at some point. And when the opportunity came for her to become the president, like, she was the only lady that stepped forward. We don't only have a deficit when it comes to representation in leadership roles. We also need ladies who are bold enough to step forward, because of the social and the social responsibilities women have. It sort of, sometimes it affects. It's not even sometimes. It affects their growth in whatever career they are. And when we have opportunities like that, women first think about, oh, how am I going to manage my other responsibility and then this potential leadership roles. For men, they don't think about that. If there is a role and they're interested in it, they just go at it. But we ladies need to think about it, how it will affect us, how it will affect the family, how, so many other things like that. And when that happens, she stepped forward. She has a family, and she just sat her family down, like, I am going for this. And she's an icon in table tennis right now because she's representing so many other women who are trying to climb the ranks. And after that, she became also a member. The table tennis federation has never been like a member in the IOC. She became a member 2 years ago, the IOC member seat, and that is what we want. And I think if there are women who have the capability, they also have the experience, and also, if the ratio is so low like that, it gives you more opportunity. Like, it shoots you above other candidates as a female to wanting to take that spot. So it's a bit of both, but I think it's really about the capability, because no matter what, even if you're trying to balance the male to female ratio in leadership, you still need to find someone capable enough to lead a federation or a body, a governing body. So I feel like it's a lot more about the person and their capability than balancing the male to female ratio in leadership.
All right, Fatil, thank you very much. I think joining us in the studio now is Chief Dr. Suo Chapele or Chapele. She's going to correct me where we, and she's been very active in the industry. She's a sports commentator and analyst, and Fatil talked about bold leadership, right? And she's one who I have no doubt can, play at the very, very top of the game. All right, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
We finally get to get you on the program.
Yes! I'm excited. It's been a minute.
All right. Yeah, good to have you.
Definitely.
You had a bit of the tail end of what Fatil was saying. And the question I asked was, how does a woman get by in the industry today? Is it a question of her talent, or is it that as a woman you have an advantage over the guy, or a disadvantage? What would be your take on that?
I don't know, Fatil has said so many things, and it's niche and it's neat. And she's one of the living examples to, trying and just trying. You know, when you find yourself in a space as a woman in sports, and I would think in any other industry, when you find yourself in a space, I would expect that you'd want to understand the area, man, know thyself, right? And Fatil is one of the examples of, just leveling up. When you see where you can thrive up to, you switch up to the next thing, you just keep trying. And she's right. I think to answer that question is a bit of both. Everyone needs a bit of encouragement and mentorship. When I was coming up, I didn't see a lot of those. So I had to pick and mix and mash. So for the average youngin or lady, whether you are mid-age or even, over 50, because I feel like anybody can start this career in sports from wherever you are. Most people always feel like you need to have all the statistics and all the data and all the everything. But sports is such a crazy big hydra of an ecosystem, so much that you can be a sports administrator. You can be big on auditing and whatnot, because federations need people that are on pulse or have their fingers on ground with finances and whatnot. So whatever kind of person you are, you can actually find your niche in sports as a woman. I would say, thankfully, I started from a place where they threw us into the deep end, Brilla FM. So we had to do a lot right here in Lagos. And for the almost 3 years I was there, I had to learn ways to be relevant. And moving on from there, that's it. For the average babe, I will tell you there are opportunities. It's just that the way it is, you have to decide for yourself what you can give of yourself and not. I say this because of this, because this is March, and March is ending, and we are accelerating action. And that's one of the reasons I was very keen on having conversations like this, because, in the science or in the times that we are, we cannot run away from the fact that there are certain elements that keep certain females especially from leveling up. And one of them is this: you are not part of the old boy system. You are not ready to give favors of some sort. Ask any female in our midst. They'll tell you, don't make it a thing. You're not the only one that they've tried something with. But I can tell you, I said it on my show when I was on Wazobia. I went for a high-level interview, and the senior bros still managed to rape me there. Not once. Another one, not once. So when you ask questions, why do women, no jokes, and it was not because of how I was dressed. I was not salacious in any way. I was not anything in any way.
In this country?
In this country. And they are still in government. Yeah, they are still in government. They are still in power. They are still in everything that they are doing. So when you see people, especially females, that once upon a time they were gingering, and the next they just shifted back, I had to ask myself, because it did me a number. At the time, I was explaining it to myself. I even met some senior colleagues in the industry, and I was like, this happened to me. And they were like, why did you go on your own? Why didn't you blah, blah, blah? But I've never heard anybody tell any male journalist that, why are you going to search for a story on your own? It wasn't like it was in the middle of the night. This was broad daylight. One was even in the office. I'm not even joking. And so this, I tell myself, if I can face this, what's the average experience for the young lady who is single, who's not a mom, who doesn't have reach, who doesn't have capacity, who doesn't have chief or doctor or any title to their name? How are they coping? So a lot of times it's the lack of protection. You have to be under somebody. You have to favor somebody in certain ways. And there are ways to go about it, because I had to go about the work I love in a way that could sit in my spirit and could keep me mentally sane. And I found ways, and lucky for me, I'm an multi-hyphenate. But not everybody can do movies, not everybody can do other things, or entertainment or whatever. Not everybody can. Some people just want to come and be reporter, and that's the only thing they want to do. They want to be a commentator, or an analyst, or an host, or a host, or something. So for me, I feel like we should all be partakers of observing. The first things we should observe is, why is that very passionate person, whether you're a young man or especially because of the discourse, a young girl, why did your ginger fail? It's not always because of money. It's not because always lack of opportunities. No, something probably happened, and that's what failed them. We need to be our brothers and sisters keeper in certain ways. If you have passed through a path and you know what is up, you have to pass the baton. I don't care. In my experience, I don't care if it bites me. For every 10 person I've tried to impact, the only 2 maybe that, took it and said, Suo, follow up, I see what I did. Do you know the joy in my heart? Because we have managed to impact someone that can use this industry to feed. When we go abroad, we see, when I was working alongside on some projects with World Athletics, we had conversations about why youngins from Africa were not going about doing the media work. And this was why. Because most times, there are no opportunities, and for you to pass through the opportunities, they are gatekeepers. So they're not giving you room to fail up. I met a friend, in fact, most of the people I played around with for the Junior Worlds in Colombia, and the other one, they just finished in Peru, or the one in Kenya. Students, interns, they gave them the opportunity. Follow the federation. Give them the freshness of your youth, and let's show you what the technicalities of it are. And guess what? almost every person from that particular group, let's say, let me just take 2020, 2021 group, almost all of them are captains of industry in their countries. They are leading things in their countries. These are ladies that initially didn't want to do sports. They just came for the cruise. And you wonder what's the zeitgeist reading in Nigeria, in West Africa, in Africa. So for me, I'm not going to complain. I know that there are solutions. And if there's someone here watching, and you're young and you feel like you want to enter the career, there's always a way. Language is a way. For instance, I picked Pidgin. I have a degree in English and literature. I picked Pidgin. Do you know that we had English, Pidgin, Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba commentators at the last World Cup? If you go on platforms like TikTok, people are cashing out from breaking down simple plays. Why do they do this in American football and not regular football? They break it down in indigenous languages. Why? Because people don't know these things, and the language sits better, or you understand it better when it comes to your natural state. So you have to find ways, and you cannot limit yourself. If you're a mom, a nursing mom, or whatnot, there's a fantastic young lady. She is in Abuja, Ijoma. Ijoma is into cricket. When it was not popular, she started singing about it. Go on TikTok, you see her. When our under-17s blew everybody away just a few months ago, a few weeks ago, she was one of the people I was like, this girl found a niche. So you have to find a niche. If it's fashion, there's space for you. Anything, there's a space. You don't even need an orga. You just need to sell yourself and be your most authentic self, and you'll get it.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's been delivered really passionately. And it's been a bit disturbing as well, and we're going to get to that.
Not today, not today.
Yeah, I don't know if Fatil is still with us. Fatil, are you still there? Yeah, in fairness, Fatil said she was going to be able to do the first 30 minutes of the show.
Oh, my.
Right? But, I mean, you're here. There's still a lot to tap from what you have said in terms of experience, because that's a really critical thing. Young people want to get into sports. It's difficult enough for guys, because traditionally, I don't think in Africa we still see sports as a field where you can build a career. You know, so most people still don't see that.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, no, but I think we're making progress. People are building up to that.
Oh, yes.
But for the young girl especially, I'm thinking, if young people can be molested, for instance, is there something like a female body that protects young ladies trying to get some sort of head-on in their careers in sports?
Right now in Nigeria, no. That's why a lot of us have been watching keenly the happenings between Senator Natasha and Senator Akpabio, because this is in the highest echelons of government, and it's a reflection of what could be and what could not be, and where we will be leading or be heading after this. You know, the ripple effect is going to go on for generations to come. And that's why wherever you are, you can't wait for government. You have to be the government in your space. You can't condone things that are not permissive. If you feel like it's uncomfortable, you have to speak. That's why I would advise anybody, when they are going into a working space that is corporate, especially corporate, you should have a fair relationship with your HR. Always have a fair relationship with your HR, and always do your job. Because the first thing people say is just like when you are that student in school, you don't know how to do it, you are just castigating and calling names. Nah, you have to do your job. You have to do your job. I've worked in places where, you know, the females were not protected, and I've also worked in places where the females were properly protected. I mean, I worked in CWIA where there was a funny situation with a colleague then, and, you know, my immediate line manager stepped up and stamped it and said, we don't do misogynistic, chauvinistic things here. And I really appreciated that. So for you to have more females who are bringing their talent and grace and grit and, you know, their perspective into expanding these beautiful games that we love to broadcast and talk about and experience, you need allies. Allies from both sides of the divide. It's not a gender war. It's men that know that guy, right is right, and show them the way. I wouldn't have been a commentator, for instance, if not for people like China Acheru, who has worked with the BBC, or China Okeleji, or Shino Okeleji, or Emmanuel Etim, or people who put me up on the path and make sure that even till date, when they listen to my commentaries, they still tell me, Look at, you know, there are people that their hearts are open.
Yeah.
So you need to identify those that are about them and those that are about the altruistic growth. I'm not saying they don't like profit, but they like the altruistic general growth of the sports, and they believe in mentorship. So I always give cards and flowers to my mentors, not just the ladies, but also the men. People like Cecilia Omorugbe, that was my senior at school in Uniben. And when I came to Lagos, she was in English and literature, and suddenly I come in and she's beating everybody in awards, sports awards. You need mentors. I was standing in the front of NRA Junction back in the day, 2010, that big board that Udwaga and Puto were watching the football game for the World Cup, and I saw a pregnant Chi Somumbonu, you know, anchoring. It was the first time. It was crazy, iconic, legendary. And I stood there crying because an image, they used to tell us, a Kodak picture paints 1,000 words. Now imagine what a frame of video can do. And that was what ignited in me. I only picked up sports when I became a mom. And the only reason I did it was because I saw someone like Chisom do it. That's why it's very important that all of us, whether you're a male or female, you know, you find a way to maintain space and hold grace, because you are holding the space for those to come. You are inspiring in some way. You don't know that people are watching, but precept upon precept, as you are building small, someone is watching. This morning I woke up and I got a message from a young intern who says she wants to switch to sports in the place I work, one of the places I work. And the way she went at it, and she was calling the people that inspired her to want to switch, and the opportunity she saw, I was so blown away, because I was like, this is why we are here, you know, to hold space and make sure that those that want to do this still find a shade to hide and collaborate and learn and do well or do better. So that's all we are here for. You have to elevate the craft, identify where talent is, where you can grow it, fine. Where they have to learn, you give them their space to do their thing, and you keep it moving. Nobody owes you anything, but the growth of these our games that we love, if it's not better, the money is not more. So I need it better, so the money can come more.
Okay, so here, I mean, it's an interesting point you've made.
Yes, sir.
If you don't build the industry can't feed you.
At all.
Yeah? But what we tend to do in Nigeria, you know, and, you know, globally, sports business or sports commerce is local.
Oh, it's local.
So if you look at the NBA, for instance, it's local to the American.
Yeah.
The English Premier League is local to the British economy. Do you understand? But what I find here is, rather than build our local industries by doing, in a manner of speaking, what you're saying is, when you build the local industry, you're building the pie. Yeah. So there's more to go around. We're spending our time building what's going on overseas. What do we do? I
think it's a delicate dance, because people want to see the Premier League, for instance. So you give them a bit of this and then a bit of that. It's been a gradual process, but you know how they say there's grammatic progression and arithmetic progression. So some sides we're moving little poco a poco, little steps, and on the other side it's just blowing. But I feel like what's going on now is an information explosion. Go online, go on the socials. You see more ladies involved in media officer duties and whatnot. I believe Fatil is probably the first female, you know, media officer we have for international organizations or federations like ITT. And thankfully, because of, like I said, allies like Oga Oshodi, our senior man from Nigeria, who identified talent and stuck with it. There's a lady called Queen Mosep. She used to pass through the space a lot. She's in basketball. She's the media officer for Rivers Hoopers, one of our basketball teams. She's been there for years. Oh, yeah, I think there's been time that people want to jump in and jump out and try and shift her, but she shows so much excellence and dedication that as long as you're doing the job, just get on with it. So for me, I feel like most youngins now begin to understand the entertainment aspect. So where they lack is the substance. But that's okay. The substance can be built. First of all, there has to be interest. The Super Eagles are in town. In just a few minutes, they'll be playing their game in Uyo, and you see full Uyo is blocked. Hotels are full of content creators, because suddenly sports entertainment is a big thing. I went to AFCON in Ivory Coast, and I saw how sports entertainment in West Africa has become a big thing. So if you're taking it from the entertainment side, imagine what happened with our comedians. They blew their industry without the help of the government. Our musicians blew their industry without the help of the government. Content creators blew their industry without the help of the government. So I feel like any person that's interested, you have to take a chance on yourself. You get another alternative source of income, something that gives you a bit of time. You don't need to go and cover Ikorodu City versus Lagos Liga, Abifasi Lagos Liga versus Sporting always or whatnot. Sometimes you can just cover that local team in your area. That's what I do these days. In fact, I had to start discovering why I love sports again. So I started going from Lundus, as they say it in local parlance, local neighborhoods to local neighborhoods, and like, okay, why you like the football? You go see small children, they tell you my favorite footballer, now this one, oh yeah. And, ignite it. They just finished the 1X Cup. That's one of the biggest amateur football tournaments across Lagos. And more they come. I think tomorrow we're starting the Siwaju Cup. The sports festival is coming for Niger Delta.
Yeah.
So there's so many local pockets. Gateway Games is coming.
Yeah.
So I say this because I'm sure a lot of people watch this that are not in Lagos.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, there are tournaments, there are events. Put yourself in there and immerse yourself. And you'll be fine.
But media, so
Yes.
I go fight with you for
Words.
media in Nigeria promote. Let me not. I don't want to take away.
So
from
you want me
that.
to drag people that because we talk about Premier League more?
No, you must.
We still talk about it. We still talk about the MPFL.
The good thing though is that young players, say the young content creators, and they're now talking a lot about the MPFL.
Like it's the most we've had since I know any time since I small. I never see this amount of information.
No, it's true.
It's just that, like you're right when you say there is the gap, there's a gulf in the coverage.
Do it 50-50.
No, 50-50 no will come yet,
60-40.
idealistically. It gets to be, for now, I think we're getting towards 30, 70, 35, 65. And that's a leap from 10 years ago when I officially started,
Like 1
or
to
11 years when I
99.
started. Yeah, then it used to be much shorter.
Yeah.
So give it 2 years now.
Yeah.
It go balance. These days, nobody plays Oyibo song in party or in club. These days, soon, we'll only be focusing on the
MPFL.
Africans and the MPFL and the Africans across board.
Okay, so like for a young lady, if a young lady comes to you now, because like you have said, there are lots of career opportunities
Oh,
in
yes.
sports.
Sports psychology,
But then
among others.
But you've got to be guided. I'm sure you're mentoring some people. What would you be telling them at this point in time? Like, look, if you're getting into sport, maybe this is the sport you should get into, or maybe this is the discipline that offers more opportunities. Is this something that you have thought about or something like?
I always say, and that's what worked with people like, Queen and Fatil. I was on basketball until they scattered our MBBF and that one went away.
Okay.
I was on the women's sports and still on the women's sports. You have to find where the road less traveled. There's Robert Frost's poem where he talked about to look at two. There's a road that everybody has passed, and there's another road that others have not passed. Most people follow this, the paths everybody knows. But if you look at the sports or the angle that a lot of people have not, delved into. Mental health, for instance, is a big thing now. If you take mental health and say sports psychology, you take that and you start dropping 1 or 2 small content. Are you joking? Only these athletes themselves will come and be nearing you and be like, how far now? I see those tips you drop. Do you have a plan? Do you have something? Wellness and whatnot. Being well. This year's theme for the Women's Day is Accelerate Action on Healthy Living and Healthy Lifestyle. So you have to know that healthy living, holistic living is a big thing now. So you have to identify the road less traveled. I was doing for our general broadcasters. I was doing general broadcasting before. But after I come back to Lagos when I was born, I realized for me to do entertainment, to do news, to do whatever, it go hard. So where was the next thing? Sports. It was so easy to do because I had 11 brothers and I grew up in a space that it was sports-centric. So I just jumped into that and applied my training from the other side. And look at where it has carried me. So whether you have a training in engineering or whatnot, it doesn't matter. You can take up something that is key to you, that you feel like I said, sports is a holistic thing. You don't have to limit yourself. You can make it bend to you. You don't have to start doing 4-4-2 formation because in our football or 4-3-3 if that's not your thing. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so that's the point you made now that if I check your pocket now, Patil, and I bring out your card, the thing heavy.
Wow.
Yeah?
Wow.
Because if somebody's, all these young people watching say, sports, I want to do it, but it's their money.
As long as you have a phone.
Can I sustain, can it give me a good life,
No, sports in itself not going to give you good life. If you are going into journalism thinking you want to blow, you will not blow. You may be popular, but you will not have money. What you do is become a conduit. The smart people upskill. There are opportunities because when you are in the center of the ecosystem, you can be an agent, you can be a coach. Chisom is one of the first, licensed coaches. She went through it.
Oh, she is?
Yes, she is. Very well. She's also an agent, by the way. So everybody adds something to what they have. I have a course I'm doing now in mass comm from one of the universities, and that's to add up. Another one is on the side because I'm adding up. You have to add up so that you can have access, because the goal is to have access and then benefit from the access. So you can broker deals as a middleman. You can identify talent, because people are always coming to Africa to look for our runners, our girls that are very athletic inclined. I mean, there's a rush for athletic scholarship, even football scholarship now in the UK, and especially in America now that every college is doing competition on each other. Check the NCAA, now our people now in the blue pass for there now. So you can be that person. You already know them here. So position yourself, and from your phone, you can blow. And generally, you can feed with the sports, but use the sports to feed your whole life. It's possible.
Okay, when Nigerian host band, like me, now enter the matter.
Yeah.
And I asked, this travel that are traveling, all of this, how do you cope with all that?
I don't know, I can't advise anybody. Honestly speaking, I really can't, because it's a personal journey. There are those who have decided to choose their marriages as opposed to a career. I'm not one of those that will sacrifice anything for anything, because if you do not feel the calling to it, then it's something that anybody can tell you that, oh, if you have to choose between a family life and this, you don't have to choose. The smart ones know that it fits the whole life. I know a young lady that started from this with basketball, did a master's, did doctorate. She's balling currently in China. She has a fashion outfit. She has a company for biochemistry. She read biochemistry in the US, by the way. She's our captain, isn't it, Kalu?
Okay.
And she has her own business for cosmetics and whatnot. Now you telling me that Koro man will come tell and say, as a Nigerian man, make her tell you, say, make you sit down corner.
Yeah.
I mean, the person you're with is myopic.
Yeah.
It doesn't want a holistic growth for the family or generational wealth. Because this is what it's about.
So you think women can navigate?
Oh yes, Simona Biles is doing it. Yeah. If the person do any drop and go and follow somebody that understands. See Serena, see Venus. Venus didn't fold, and look at where she is now. She's dating someone that appreciates what she is and what she's about. There are some men that are cut out for this life. It's just like some women are cut out to be wives of star athletes, that they can keep some parts of themselves and follow, like Djokovic and his wife, or rather Federer and his wife, who followed him with their babies. They were moving country to country, tour to tour, and they were managing and maintaining grace. That's a special kind of woman. Okay, so that's how we get a special kind of man. So if you're a special kind of man, you want a special woman in sports, because women in sports, they're amazing,
Okay, so look, I'm going to apologize to everyone on air, because I messed you up actually. So and that has cost us, because there's so much you clearly have to offer that we're not, because of time, we're not going to be able to. But I'd let you have a last word, that summarizes, if there's a young lady out there, or an older person who's looking for a new kind of career, lady that is. What would you tell them about the opportunities in sports?
There are so many opportunities in sports. Sports is just a modicum of how life is. So what I would tell you is, as long as you have a phone that has internet and you have data, you can afford it. I feel like you have the chance to change your life, because there's a story, even if everybody has said that story before, there's a way you will see it. There's an angle that God has put in you to identify. If you do not do it, another person will do it, and they will blow, and you'll just be looking. And any time is the best time to start. If they say you want to start now, there's nothing like my time has passed to. Your time has not passed. As long as you are alive and you have the grace and passion, get it in and get it done. On a final note, one of my favorite journalists, female journalists, Esther Pushe, she just died last month. She was one of the people that made me get interested in local sports and women's sports. And she was always big on utilizing every opportunity. And as I saw, rest in peace, she took a chance. Who knew that she was going to die so young? We don't know when we are going. So if you have a time, or if you have chance now, you have life, do it now and leave empty. That's all.
All right. So that's been the program, viewers. I'm really happy how it has turned out. Suo is not going to go away. I'm going to beg her to come back on this program because there's still plenty that we can learn from her. All right, and thank you very much, Suo. Thank you, Fatil, who had to leave early because of an earlier commitment. And that's been the program this week. We have a very big guest coming in next week. It's going to be a really huge package, another woman, and I can guarantee you that it will be well worth your time to make it a date. Until we meet again next week, this is me, Orufuo Ezaga, saying be productive, be good, and stay safe.